So, welcome to my Steam review series. This is where I'll be reviewing and ranking many, many, many Steam games. Alright, so since this is my first episode, I'll have to pick a simple, mainstream game that already has a large internet following and is easily recognizable. Well, I'm gonna go with the lesser evil here. Roll the episode-specific intro. Undertale, with its third anniversary on the horizon, kind of. Undertale has had plenty of time for the internet hype to die down and allow me to share my opinion on the game well after everybody and their grandma already has. So, let's take a look. You play as a child who fell off a cliff and has to get out of the underground world you find yourself in. This is where one major decision takes place. Do you kill, or do you show mercy? The game has two branching paths, the pacifist ending, also known as the true ending, and the genocide path. To get a good feel for the game, I played both of these multiple times after its initial release, and one playthrough each to get footage for this review. In the pacifist playthrough, you are clearly rewarded for taking mercy, where the opposite is true in the genocide. You're treated as not human and more of a monster than, well, the monsters. Undertale's gameplay is alright. Nothing too special in fights. The act and mercy options do add something that some games don't even consider, but often the game interjects its story into the gameplay. Normally this isn't a problem, especially on a first-time playthrough, but when you're trying to play the game for the second or third time, and you have to go through the exact same story beats again and again, it just gets really frustrating and makes you hate some characters for how many times they delay the game with their wacky dialogue. The true ending bosses are a joke, let's be real. All of them are easy, they don't take off that much damage, or when they kill you, it means nothing. You respawn mid-combat, and you didn't lose a single thing. The genocide bosses, on the other hand, are either complete pushovers, or really difficult. You don't have anything to warm you up to the actual battles. I found the final major conflict in the genocide path a lot easier than one fight that was midway through. Anything outside the combat is either a puzzle or a character attempting to make small talk with you when you're just trying to move along. The puzzles are fine though, some are clever, some aren't, some just thrust you into another battle. The detail that went into the environment makes it look amazing, as opposed to the characters outside of combat. For as much as I harp on the characters that waste my time, there are several well-written, interesting, and fun characters. The design of the game is incredibly colorful, except in combat where it's completely black and white. It didn't take anything away from the overall game, but it definitely feels weird looking back on it all. Not every Steam review is guaranteed to have a music section, because many games either have uninteresting music, some have no music at all, and others just have one track, looping forever. Thankfully, none of these are the case for Undertale. Undertale's soundtrack is probably the best thing about it, and I couldn't easily describe the overall quality of the Undertale soundtrack, and chances are you've probably heard some before you clicked on this video. Is it my favorite game soundtrack? No, but it's amazing. The recurring leitmotif, which is a character's theme, in case you don't know. I do research found in the opening song is easily my favorite part of any song it appears in. Oh boy, let's talk about some spoilers. Skip here if you want to avoid spoilers for the lore and multiple endings. I like to think that the game doesn't just randomly throw out exposition around each ending's climax, but they do. If you played the pacifist route, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You're walking to the Judgment Hall where monsters just start spawning, and instead of fighting you, you're told the backstory to the game. Wouldn't it have made more sense for other characters to slowly tell you information about it, so that when you meet King Asgore, you can put things together in the timeline instead of this lame ambush of exposition? Now in the genocide route, this is held a little bit better, but it's still kind of ridiculous. Sans, Flowey, and Azrael Dreamer are all key parts of their individual endings. Sans is the antagonist that everyone remembers from the genocide ending, even though the Undying fight is much harder because you weren't fully prepared for the fight, whereas with Sans, even if you aren't familiar with Undertale, you know about the Sans battle. Flowey is essential in acquiring the pacifist ending when he turns into this thing, and the human souls he tried to take control of put a stop to him. Unless you decide to do a true ending where the same thing happens, but he consumes all the monster souls as well, turning into Azrael Dreamer, the beginning of the final battle. Now, as I implied before, the battle is a joke. There's no way you can lose, and even if you die in fight, he just laughs at you and you continue from that point. There's no punishment or anything to say about it. You convince Azrael to stop fighting, and he frees the monster souls, breaking the barrier, and everyone's happy. In the genocide ending, you meet up with Sans and he decimates you a few times, even though you almost killed him on your first attempt and you got really upset about it. Flowey kills the king and you kill Flowey for stealing your kill. You then meet up with Kara, or Chara, who says that you and them should work together to eradicate the world. Either choice you make, the world is destroyed and the game is over. Unless you go to the files and reset the game, or you sell your soul to Chara. There's no real bonus for completing either of these other than some minor Easter eggs. Technically speaking, you can walk up to Azrael by going all the way back to the start, yes, the flowers at the very beginning of the game, and he'll be standing there, tending the flowers. There are other Easter eggs depending on if you don't get hit during the true endings credits, or if you sell your soul. There are other endings where if you spare one creature, you don't get the genocide ending or the pacifist ending, and depending on who you kill during the boss battles, it changes the Sans phone call after the Flowey fight. But both endings were equally satisfying and unsatisfying. You get what you deserve, but you want more out of both. I wanted more boss battles in the genocide route, and I wanted more varied battles in the pacifist. With all that being said, the good definitely outweighs the bad here. Undertale is a good game with a bad reputation. The internet both loves and despises this game. Undertale has some amazing aspects in it, but there were definitely a ton of problems I had with it. Now, since this is the first episode, I will explain how the chart works here. I'm going to rank every game on a scale from the best game to the worst game. And since Undertale is the only game on the list, it is also the best and the worst game on the list. Undertale was an enjoyable experience for one playthrough of each major path, but I'm going to say you might want to play each part only once. Thank you all for watching the first episode of this series. I've got a lot of Steam games to cover and a lot of time to kill. Next episode I'll be covering a less recognizable game called The Stanley Parable.